Hello and welcome to the Outcast and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 Marathon. I'm your host HC and with me is...
Reluctantly Wolf, who has to go along with this marathon.
Yeah, he's so reluctant that he dropped on me like an hour before recording this. Hey, I finished the season yesterday. We are good to record today. And okay, sure. Awesome. Let's do this. But yeah, this was actually, didn't we record the previous episode less than a week ago?
About it. No, it should be a week. We recorded it Saturday, so about a week, or just about. Close to at least,
Okay.
anyways.
Well, there you go. We are on track, and okay, but we are here with season 4, and this. So if I may start, this is a very interesting season. It's a very packed season. There's a lot going on, and kind of like season 3, it kind of splits into two parts, in a sense. And I'll say that both parts work really well, and even the fillers feel like they have some sort of purpose. Most of them do.
Okay.
Most of them. You'll see what I mean once we actually get into the season. But and overall, I like this season. It has its problems. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but I really enjoyed this one. What do you think?
I hate all of it. No.
I was so ready for this. I was so ready for you to say it.
I think, right, this season exemplifies, I think, some of the issues I have with the show at times. And to be honest, I don't think the season is bad by any stretch. I think the weakest season is still probably season 1 as a starting season. I think season 1 is still mostly the weakest. But I think this season is, in a way, I would say this season was kind of my most disappointing season. It's kind of lackluster.
I would disagree with you on that, but
I'm not saying that means it's bad by any stretch. I don't think it's bad. I think there's good stuff here. It's just, I think I came into this expecting more. And, like, as an example, right? Like, we spend the first 13 episodes of the season, the first half, on the Triceratons and, defeating the Triceratons.
yes.
Except, I look through those episodes and the Triceraton, and there's a new villain we get introduced to in this first half who goes by the name Lord Dreg. He's in more of these episodes than the Triceratons are. Why? Why are the Triceratons, who destroyed Earth, who are our biggest enemy from the second season, why are they in so few episodes? In third season, sorry. Why are they in so few episodes compared to this new character who shouldn't be that important?
I have a theory about it, but we'll get to it once we actually...
It's kind of lackluster in that regard, because I expected more from the Triceratons. I expected that to take up more of our time and we would be doing more with them, and we just don't. And that's not the only thing I would say was kind of disappointing and lackluster about this season, but we'll get to the rest of it because I don't want to spoil since we're not in that spoiler section yet. But it's a good season. I don't hate it, but I do think there's a lot of stuff there that I think they could have done that they didn't do, and it just makes it overall feel kind of disappointing to me personally.
Although I will say, even though I am probably on a more positive vibe than you, I do think the second half of the season is relatively stronger than the first half. But
I would absolutely agree with that.
And
also, I said I would do this, by the way. They involve mutagen in this season again, HC.
Well, to a lesser extent.
To a much lesser extent, yes, but it's still there. I said I was done with this. I said I was done with this show. We are never recording it ever again if they involve mutagen. That's what I told you.
Well,
and yet here I am recording. We go up to the episode. We go until we get to the episode with mutagen, and then we stop. We never touch TMNT ever again.
What if I tell you, before, people who watch the show know what I'm talking about. To those who don't know, this is not... I'm keeping this spoiler free. But what if I told you that the use of the mutagen in this season is actually to make you make a part of TMNT lore better?
We'll see. We'll see.
I'll
You can
explain
explain
once.
to me when we get there, I guess.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you when we get there. But and before we start the spoilers, one thing I was so curious about your opinion on this. The show within a show, Chris Bradford and his
That was
and
fun. It
don't
was
I
this
don't
was the A-Team ripoff, yeah.
and no, this is supposed to be like a reference to the Chuck Norris cartoon and just celebrity cartoons that were popular in the 80s.
It seemed like they were going with an A-Team kind of vibe thing, if I'm not mistaken. There was a Chuck
No, no,
Norris cartoon though.
yeah, there was a Chuck Norris. I thought A Team as well, I actually checked this, and they said that the I don't
Holy
remember
shit,
the
there
phone.
was Karate Commandos. I did not know that.
Yeah, exactly. So the title, because like Chuck Norris and the Karate Commandos, it's Chris Bradford and so. I don't remember the full title, which annoys me at the moment.
It's not that important.
But the thing is, just from the title, you can tell, and also how Chris Bradford looks with the beard and
Oh yeah, I mean he's supposed
the
to
hair.
be like the Chuck Norris lookalike.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be a reference to that, and just celebrity-based cartoons that were all over in the 80s and 90s.
So kind of A-Team, but so A-Team's kind of been in there as well.
Yeah, Jackie Chan's Adventures is the weirdest thing I was ever exposed to as a child. And then
I
I
like
see
that show. If that's
no, no,
the
no,
one I'm thinking about.
the show is good. I'm not saying anything about the show, but what I meant is that it was so weird hearing the name Jackie Chan from that show, and then all of a sudden seeing his name on posters and saying,
Oh
"Wait, there's a
yeah.
Jackie Chan live action movie? What the hell?"
True.
Okay, so with that said, season 4 spoilers start in 3, 2, 1. So everyone died at the end of the last season, if you don't recall, and
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 then they're all back to life again in one episode.
okay, here's the thing. So the turtles, April and Casey, are saved from the black hole generator by a robot called the Fugitoid, who I already went over in the previous season. Is voiced by David Tennant. So go ahead. Uh, you know what he's done, but if you want a refreshment, go to the end of last episode. So he saves them, and then he takes them back 6 months into the past in order to try and find the black hole generator pieces before the Triceratons. Which on the one hand, it's kind of cheap that we're using time travel, but at the same time, I do appreciate that it's a one and done. If they do fuck it up, there are no do-overs, because
I mean, knowing this show, there would be do-overs though.
well, I would like to believe that no. Like the ways they establish it in the rules they created for this season, there are no do-overs. They get one chance.
Although they completely said, you know what, you know the time paradox theories and all that. Fuck that. We're not gonna bother solving that. But anyways, I have issues with the way they do time travel. I'm gonna nitpick this shit.
Considering I just played Deponia Doomsday a few weeks ago, that completely ignores time travel logic, and I'm sorry, Hadek, it does, but that's another story.
I have no comment. Not played Deponia, so I can't say.
Okay.
I can say this ignores time paradox theory, though. Anyways, I could say that much.
Well, honestly, it's not like they're trying to go against.
To be
it or
fair,
something.
It's not
there's
like
no reason for it.
They don't really like. To be fair to them, right? There is zero concern for it. They just hand wave all of it away. Like, all right. So time paradox theory has the entire thing of like you can't exist in both timelines. You can't two of you can't exist in the same timeline, right? Like that whole thing and all that stuff, right? This show just kind of says, and just kind of hand waves.
I love how you are going. you are trying to find that logic in a show called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I mean, to be fair, they've done time travel before and they did it well, though. So it's kind of irritating that they would do time travel in a season, even if it's just for an episode or two, so well, and then they come here and kind of say, yeah, fuck it. Who cares?
Well, honestly, it's not okay. There is one part I'll give it to you, one part which we'll get to, but throughout the rest of the season, honestly, it doesn't really bother much.
No. It's not something that comes up a lot or that they do a lot with, so it's not a big deal. It's kind of, hey, we traveled back in time. Let's go do the thing. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So with that said, we talked about the time travel, and now that, what do you think of the Fugitoid?
I like him. I think, he's a good character, and I think David Tennant does really well with him. I mean, David Tennant's always fun, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if they edited his voice or of his action, but there's something in his voice in this role that does sound a bit more robotic-y, and also in random sentences he'll go like bleep and stuff. I like that. It's
a nice little touch. It adds to the character.
Yeah, and also, we'll get to more of the Fugitoid as the season goes on, and yeah, I like what they did with him. He could have just been, the not Splinter of this season, but he stands on his own. I like him. He's cool.
He's more involved than Splinter ever was.
Well, is there on his ship? He'd better be.
No, but he actually gets involved in the fight. Splinter sat back for a lot of them.
Okay, fair point. But with that said, though,
we are introduced to another new character this episode.
Lord Dreg.
Okay, I just like this character.
Cool. Okay, a few things first before I forget. Dreg in this show is voiced by Peter Stormare, whom people may know as Mr. Freeze in some animated DC stuff. He has a minor roles in Big Lebowski and Fargo, two Coen Brothers movies. And also, my personal favorite is voicing and mo-capturing a character called Dr. Hill in the video game Until Dawn. And he chews the scenery in that game, and he's amazing at doing so.
He is. He's a good VA. I just dislike Lord Dreg.
And so Lord Dreg, TMNT fans may know him as the main villain in seasons 9 and 10 of the original 80s cartoon. He took over for Shredder for these two seasons. And like in that show, he was like he was an alien, so they got that part. But he also kind of tried to convince the people of the Earth that the Turtles are evil. Kind of imagine if J. Jonah Jameson was a supervillain. And
no wonder I hate him.
And yeah, in this show is a bit more comic reliefy, and yeah, he's in this show, and I'll agree. I don't really care for this iteration of him personally.
We'll see it quite a few times where this character pops back up, and we'll see him pop up with another new character as well. But we'll get to that, and. For something that's supposed to feel like it's focused on the Triceratons, it feels like it focuses on Lord Dreg more than it does the Triceratons. And I honestly just dislike that because he comes out of nowhere. He doesn't add much of anything other than, I'm better than you because reasons, you're beneath me, this is my kind of thing now, and I'm a villain, I hate the turtles, woo. That's it. They insulted me, so I'm going to kill them now.
This is something that the show has been good at doing doing fan servicey references every now and again, and giving you life to all the characters. But this is one I think he's just here because he was in the 80s cartoon. There's really there's not much to him.
It just feels like we could have done without his one, I think, and focused more on the Triceratons maybe and done more with them. Maybe that's just me though. Like again, he's not the worst character ever. He's not Mutagen Man person, whatever his name is.
The pulverizer.
The Pulverizer. He's not the Pulverizer. You cannot be worse than the Pulverizer. He was only in there for 1 or 2 episodes, and he is already the worst character ever. So, Lord Dreg can't be worse than him, but he's really, really close.
Yeah, and not one of the better additions this season. But I thought of him a decent introduction to our travels in space, the final frontier.
Like, this was a good opening episode to get us introduced to a completely different type of scenery and stuff like that. And which, by the way, I'll go ahead and mention it now. I love the change up here in the fact that we're not in the city anymore. We're not just seeing those bland, very diluted color city backgrounds.
Yeah,
Like, we're
it's
actually
nice to
seeing
see
a lot
something.
of color this season. Like, there's a lot more color. We're seeing some beautiful landscape work here in terms of background stuff.
That's another thing I want to point out, that the different planets the turtles travel to are unique and
Like,
are
every
colorful,
location
and
feels unique. I feel like nothing puts me in the mind of the city, nothing puts me in the mind of something we previously saw. It's all very unique, some of it's beautiful to look at. Like, it's some really well done background scenery in this first half of the season. Like, it's some beautiful, well done artwork, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
So I like this change. So as far as the change ups go, I really enjoyed this one.
Before we continue to episode 2, I have a question for you. What did you think about the new opening?
I liked it. It was good. Like, it's still kind of the same opening. We just kind of get a bit of a stop in the music, and we have Leo kind of tell us that the Triceratons, are planning on destroying Earth and things like that, or Earth was destroyed. We're here to stop them, things like that. I liked it. It was a nice little bit of a change up.
Yeah, and I do like how until that point in the intro, the intro would always end with the turtles posing on that roof like they do in the original comic book cover. And I like that they're doing it on an asteroid. I don't know. It's a small change, but I like it. It's cool.
Yeah,
good on you.
Works.
You found a way to implement it, and I'm happy. So
it works.
Decent first episode. Not a fan of this version of Drag. Moving on.
Sorry.
It's okay. Like I said, I'm not that big a fan of myself. So with that said, we're moving to the second episode, The Moons of Talos 3. What are your thoughts?
So this is our first introduction to... So we're finally introduced to the Triceratons in this episode. We get back up with them. And this is where we're introduced to Raph's love interest for this season, for a time.
Well, this is something we do need to point out, that we are introduced to the Salamandras, which are the Neutralizers species.
Yes, the Salamandrians.
And that brings us to 2 characters. One is the Sal Commander, voiced by the sexiest voice on earth, Kit David, who people may know as Goliath in the Disney afternoon show Gargoyles. He is also the voice of the Shadow Man in Princess and the Frog. And kind of around, here's a fun trivia, he voiced Tombstone in the first episode of Spectacular Spider-Man. A voice that was later moved on to Kevin Michael Richardson, the voice of the Shredder in this show. So there you go. Fun fact.
Cool.
And then, like you said, we are introduced to Mona Lisa as well, Raph's love interest, and she's voiced by Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter, and she also voiced Kuvira in The Legend of Korra. And another interesting thing to 80s Turtles fans, Mona Lisa is from that show, where she debuted in an episode called Raphael Meets His Match, and she was his love interest there. I personally prefer that version. Like this version, not the 80s one, this one. This one is way better. Because she actually fights.
We should also say, right, like, Mona Lisa and Sal Commander are not these characters' actual names. The Turtles just rename them because they can't pronounce their actual names. I think
Yes, that's
Mona's
true.
actual name is Agithba, and Sal Commander's actual name is, I forget. They only use it like once, and you don't hear it that much.
Well, what do you really call them? Do you want me
I
to call
mean,
them by?
we're okay. So we're doing that route. You want to be racist and rude, huh? HC, as usual.
Oh, you know something regarding them? I have a racist comment
Oh,
from one of the turtles when it
oh
comes to
boy.
that, but we'll get to that episode when we get to it.
I mean,
But
but like that's what I wrote down in my notes. It's very rude to just rename people just because you can't pronounce their names. Jesus. But I like
what
these
I meant is
characters.
that, yeah, I like them too. Like I said, I prefer this Mona Lisa way better
I
than
like
the
Sal
original.
Commander
The,
and Mona. Like they're very fun characters, and I will admit the love interest between the like Raph and Mona grew on me. I will
like, you
admit.
know something, I'll tell you this. This is probably my favorite, my OTP in this show, personally. But we'll get to that more. What I forgot to say about Mona Lisa is that originally she was a turtle in the 80s cartoon. Here she is a salamander, and I prefer.
Okay.
I like her design. I like this design way better. So there's that, and I also like that she's a warrior. She actually fights, which makes it more sensical that Raphael actually meets his match in her. That it's cool. I like it.
Okay. Well, this actually puts into mind, like, aren't they doing like a female turtle thing in some of the new comics?
Um, okay, there is that live action show which I will not mention its
No, they're doing like an
name.
actual like comic thing with a female turtle now. I thought I remember seeing something about that, but yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not really following the IDW comics, so I'll take your word
ah,
for it.
I don't follow them either. I just saw a news article thing a while back about there's a female turtle now. Cool, I
Well,
guess.
they also quote unquote killed Donatello, so that comic is pulling everything they
Oh,
got, I guess. But
this comic's
that's
already. I like it more already. If only they
oh,
had killed Mikey instead, though.
one. Fuck you. Two. Moving on with the episode. Uh, okay, so they meet up the Salamandrians, and they don't get along right away because. Well, by the way, I love the planet they're on. That snow planet. The white and the space skies look great.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
really
it.
good. I enjoy it.
And they obviously don't get along, and I will say that despite me liking Raph and Mona, the like Raph trying to protect her after the Salamanders attack them is a bit rushed, but then again I realize
I
they
mean,
might
every
not have the time.
relationship in this show is rushed, though. I feel like it's just instantly we fall in love. Okay, sure, I
uh,
guess.
but you say
I
that, but then again.
to be fair though, at least generally they just do it from this perspective of the turtles, and it's just the turtles who instantly fall in love, right? And the person they fall in love with generally doesn't reciprocate that this quickly, right? Like they don't fall in love with them this quickly as well.
Fair point, yeah. But Mona does.
Yeah, Mona does.
The last thing she tells Raph in this episode that one day our noses will meet will meet in the flesh.
I mean, they
Yeah,
do in this episode though.
yeah,
But
and
anyways,
but yeah, there's that. But like I said, fun episode. I like it. Good introduction to these characters, and I get to hear Kid David's voice. What
I
else do
like
you need?
I like the design of the ice dragons in this too, right?
Yeah,
That are on this
also
planet. Like I really like their design.
okay. So moving on to episode 3, the Weird World of Worm. This episode is a
Garbage.
rehash.
It's garbage.
Okay, that one, yeah, it's
I dislike Worm. I dislike this character. This kind of I see what it's aping. It's kind of going after that whole I think his name is K from Star Trek. Is it K or is it something else? It's
I'm
Q.
not
Sorry, it's
sure.
Q. it's Q as a character from Star Trek who's supposed to be this, godlike being of chaos. That's what this is kind of aping in a way, because Q would come onto Star Trek and just basically do things for laughs, right? To just mess with the crew and mess with Picard and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this is aping somewhat, but it's just like Q was interesting because he wasn't annoying. He could be annoying, but he also could be
because
very...
another inspiration I saw here is that it's very much trying to be Robin Williams as Genie from Aladdin,
a little bit,
and
it's just
it's no, you can't mimic Robin Williams as Sting. It's not happening.
It's all the annoying, but none of the charm, right? And that's the thing you have to, I think, if you're going to do a character like this, you have to get down either one of two things, right? Q was very Q, if I'm not mistaken, he could be an annoying character, but he had a bit of that charm to him, but you could feel the intimidation there. You could feel like this was an extremely powerful being, and if you screw with him too much, he can just instantly destroy you. There, end of, right? Period. That's it. So you could feel the intimidation there. With Robin Williams, with Genie and Robin Williams, you could feel the charm there, right? You could tell that, this was a very charming person, even if you you did find it annoying, the charm was still there to take the annoying bits away, right? This character, again, it's just the intimidation isn't there, the charm isn't there, it's just the annoying bits, and that is it.
So just to get this out of the way, this thing is voiced by Dwight Schultz, who played Captain Murdoch in the A-Team, the original A-Team show. There, got this out of the way.
We got an A-Team reference.
And now to the episode itself. And the thing is, Sione only kind of did this episode in other shows he's worked on, including Teen Titans. So I just knew how this was going to end, with like one of them getting an extra wish, the wish being, I wish we never found you, and then this episode never happens. Yeah, kind of lame.
We get a return of the fart joke, because that's, what that's the best this episode could do. Like, again, this is just, it just kind of goes back to, this is why this character has no charm. We had to give him a fart joke because that's annoying. That's funny. People like that. No one does. Please stop.
I will. Something. Please. It's kind of sad that the best thing I can think about regarding this episode is something that's not even necessarily related to it. But at one point in this episode, one of Donnie's for Casey to be smart, and the worm thing makes it happen. He makes Casey Jones smart, but they actually showed a clip from this episode before the season aired. They previewed a clip at New York Comic Con, and the clip they showed to the audience was of April actually going, Casey, you're super smart now, and seeing that clip without context made everyone laughs their ass off. So, this is the only good thing about the episode. They previewed this one clip, and everyone laughed because they had no context. So,
I'm glad you bring Casey up. Maybe it's just me, right? But the first half of this season, and maybe even the latter half to a degree, felt like it had no idea what to do with Casey anymore.
And April for that, they even kind of made a joke about it in one episode where they're like, "Are you sure we'll be fine leaving April and Casey there?" And you see them being pissed at the ship that they were left again.
I mean, April at least has the whole psychic thing going on, right? Like, she does have that. But Casey's just, he's a normal kid with nothing going on who's just been thrust into space, and he's got baseball bats and hockey sticks, and now his hockey pucks are photon pucks. Ooh.
Yeah, like, it does kind of, we introduced him, we need him there. But
it just feels like they have nothing for him in this season, so they just kind of said, be there, be more annoying, be more stupid, That'll work for your character, right? Everyone will love that, and it just doesn't work. Like Casey, especially in this episode, right? This episode, I think, really brings this point home. Casey feels like a jackass in this first half of the season. Like he's just constantly being annoying. He's constantly making fun of everyone. He's constantly, like, especially Donnie. He's just constantly being kind of a bully for no good reason. Like, there's no good reason that he acts the way he acts this season. It feels like, again, that's just why I say it feels like we don't know what to do with this character. Have him act like this. That's his character, right? That'll work. That'll be fine. That'll be completely fine. No one will say anything or think anything about that. It's just, I really disliked Casey for this, at least the first half of this season. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
His character really doesn't go much of anywhere, and it just feels like they made him more annoying and more of an asshole, essentially.
Well, yeah, I'll agree with this. And, this episode doesn't do him any favors as well. Even though he is the one saving the day, it's still...
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, he saves the day, but just nothing... I guess it's, nothing comes of it because, like you said, right? Like
because the entire thing is retconned.
Yeah, they wish the day never happened, so it never gets to happen, right? So none of this actually happens. So this is kind of a nothing episode.
Yep.
And this kind of comes back to what I said earlier of why did this episode exist? Is the worm a thing in Turtles lore?
No.
So
this is...
Or the chaos beings, like they talk about, like there's 3 chaos beings in the world who are godlike beings that could destroy the universe if they wanted to. And all 3 of them have been trapped, right? Like, is that a thing in Turtles lore?
Not that I know.
Okay. I don't know. I think this episode could have been replaced with us dealing with the Triceraton Empire again, and it would have been much more enjoyable. We could have had more from this. Instead, we got this.
Yeah, but let's not dwell on this any longer and move on to episode 4, the Outlaw Armagon.
Now this I liked. Shame that he's so attached to a terrible character, Lord Drag. I hate you, but Armagon, voiced by Ron Perlman. I like.
this. Thank you for doing my job for me. But
but it's hard not to know Ron Perlman's voice, right?
Yeah. Okay. So. But I do have a few notes about this. So Rob Perlman voicing Armagon. He played
Best
Hellboy.
Probably known for Hellboy. Yep.
Yeah, he played Hellboy in the first 2 live-action Hellboy movies, not the new one, which I heard is terrible. And then he also voiced Slade in the original Teen Titans cartoon. And you may have found him in several of Del Toro's movies, and I'm not saying his first name because I can't say his first name, and my best friend is going to kill me if she listens to this. But that's another story. But yeah, like you said, this is a good episode. Too bad it's Dreg who hires Armagon to kill the turtles and not the Triceratons, but...
I really wish he was attached to the Triceratons. I think it would really add a lot more. Again, it's unfortunate that they kind of tie so much to Dreg and not the Triceratons, who kind of feel like they should have been the main enemy of this first half of the season. But
because we mentioned in the intro that Leo gives this speech. He doesn't say that he doesn't mention Dreg. He mentions the Triceratons. So why not talk about the Triceratons? That's simple.
Yeah, it's very, again, like I said, it's kind of lackluster in that regard. But Armagon, I like this character. I like Ron Perlman's always fun in the stuff that he's in, whether he's completely chewing up the scene or just his voice being enjoyable to listen to, right? Like he's always fun.
He has a very menacing voice, but at the same time, it's a menacing voice that can also, act and not just stay menacing. He can use this and.
Well, he can also he can do comedy with his voice fairly decently well too sometimes.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just because he chews so much scenery sometimes. I don't know, but he's always a joy to hear and see sometimes. In some of the stuff that he's in, he's generally there. He tends to be a joy.
Yeah, and with the character itself, I like this character's design. I like the fights they have against them in space. That's great.
He's swimming through space since he's a shark, and his space, and like his spaceship is just him wearing a suit that he uses to swim through space. That's fun. That's unique. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's great.
That's
Like
clever.
Mhm. I love it. It's great. So yeah, good episode. I don't think we have that much to say outside of
Is
it.
the
Just
Overmind a Turtles thing?
hmm?
Or the Overmind, is that a Turtles lore thing?
Again, not that I know.
Ah. So yeah, like the big, we come to a space factory that's apparently, was shut down because the Overmind, an AI that had gained sentience, was going to destroy all of humanity because this factory was making war robots that are apparently pretty tough. And it's also interesting, right? Because we see like Armagon, helps reactivate the factory, and we have Armagon working with the turtles a little bit to try and get out of this factory and destroy the Overmind, right? Like he does actually save them in order to try and capture them. It's actually kind of neat. That's kind of why I like this character, because there is a bit of back and forth where at times he's fighting with the turtles, at times he's fighting against them. I like that.
Yeah, that's like you said. It gives it more layer. He's not just a villain that another villain hired them to kill. No, there's more to it, and I like it. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Also, I heard that old modem boot up sound, by the way. They use that old modem boot up sound with the Overmind. I heard that. God, that brought back bad memories.
I'm sure.
That
I'm sure
reminded
not
me of
only
how
for you.
old I am. But
Well, with that
we do
said,
learn a bit about the Fugitoid's backstory in this one, where he used to be an actual humanoid, a human
yeah.
scientist, and
So it's
apparently
this
he's
episode.
just
Yeah,
a brain in a robot body now.
yeah.
Which, by the by, definitely gave some Genlock vibes to a degree, because that's what happens to David Tennant, where he's a scientist who ends up with his memory
You
stored
know,
inside of a robot body.
I won't be surprised if this was. I won't be surprised if this was an actual thing. Like if they planned it, so they obviously did.
Oh, I'm not saying like
And
neither series didn't plan it. It's just
no,
I
no, no, no.
definitely
I
had
mean,
some
like
Genlock
when
vibes.
I mean, like when they cast David Tennant in this role, like they know what they were doing.
Mm.
With that said, episode 5, Riddle of the Ancient Aeon. So this is the first time where we are coming across a piece of the black hole generator, and lo and behold, we are actually finding the. Go figure.
Yeah.
So,
And we're seeing Mozart, and this is where I bring up the issue of, okay, Mozart didn't recognize so Mozart actually sees the turtles in this episode. Mozart was our big, admiral of the Triceratons and very evil, very menacing back in season 3, and he didn't recognize who Mikey was or anything about the turtles. He was very interested in them, and all of a sudden now
do
he
you
sees the turtles. And so again, you bring back this issue up of, okay, you time traveled. This doesn't work as far as time travel goes. You can't have this character recognize Mikey now and like there's a lot of it's issues. Okay, I'm nitpicking, I know, but it's issues.
Yeah.
We have season 3, the ending of season 3. Mozart does not recognize who or what the turtles is. Then we come back to the timeline. Equals back out. We've come to the Triceratons are attacking Earth again, and the turtles don't recognize him because there's 2 sets of turtles, because obviously there is, because time travel, that's how it works. And yet this Mozart knows who the turtles are, but past Mozart didn't know who the turtles were. That's not how time travel works, and it aggravates me.
I'll give you that. That is confusing for all the wrong reasons.
Like, that aggravates me, all right? Yes, I'm nitpicking it. It's stupid. I shouldn't bother, but it still aggravates me, and I'm going to point it out. It would have taken you like 5 seconds to just have Mozart recognize the turtles back in season 3 and have a line there that you could say, like, hey, he knew who they were back then too because he had been through this before. Like, you could have had that. It doesn't work, and it bothers me. Like, time travel doesn't work where you time travel back 6 months and things are now new, right? Like, that's just, it's not, like, it's a recurring loop here. This is how time travel works. It's not a bubble.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Um, okay, anything else to say about this episode though, besides the time travel thing?
Which is something. I like the Aeons. I like their design. I like this planet design. Again, very beautiful scenery, very creepy, very interesting scenery, right? This is where Casey was still being very annoying. It feels like they still didn't know a lot to have really a good idea of what they wanted to do with him. But this is something where we got more of what April and her stuff going on, because she's given a piece of this crystal that the Aeons worship, right?
Yeah, this is the start of that.
And so we see, and this little piece of crystal ends up, amplifying April's psychic abilities and her psychic powers, right? And this is something that they bring back later in this season, which I enjoyed. So it'll be fun to talk about more of that later.
Hold on a second. Mind leading us to the next episode? I just need to text something to someone, and I'm with you.
Sure. So, I guess going into it, episode 6, Journey to the Center of Mikey's Mind. HC's gonna hate me for this one because this is a Mikey-focused episode, and I did not like it. This really didn't make me like Mikey more. This kind of made me dislike Mikey more. So this episode starts off with us with, if I'm not mistaken, let me check and make sure.
Yeah, I will say this, like, even though Mikey is my favorite episode, again, not the best way to do a character for character episode focused on him. Not the way.
So we have some microscopic aliens who invade Mikey's mind. I forget the name of them, to be quite honest. They're only in this one episode and that's it. They never come back. But we're here. They come after Mikey because Mikey says he has information about the black hole generator and who has it and things like that in his head, because they went to a guy to make a deal with him to get information about where the Triceratons were from this guy. And so this guy hears Mikey say this because he tries to cheat them, and so they get back at him. So this guy hears Mikey says this, and he sends these aliens after him to get this information and steal this information from his head, from his mind, right? So these aliens go into his mind, and the rest of the turtles have to go into Mikey's mind also with the help of April, so they can try and stop these aliens. And we just see a whole bunch of different stuff in Mikey's head and how he sees things and his imagination and stuff like that. And it's not the greatest episode.
I will say this: I enjoyed the huge Renette in his mind. That was kind of.
I mean, there's some creative stuff there. It's fun. It's not inherently a bad episode. It's just
But it's not
kind of there.
It's kind of there, and it has no purpose in the grand scheme of things.
It doesn't really do a lot. It doesn't really serve a lot. It's just kind of there. It's not bad by any means. There is some creative stuff here. It is fun at times, but nothing that really sells me on Mikey's character. It's just more of what I already expect from him. It gives me nothing new. It does nothing new. That's it.
Yeah. What did I want to say? Oh yeah, this. I guess it's worth mentioning that this is the first time we ever hear something that fans suggested, and it's a combination between Booyakasha and Kawabanga. That's a thing which they don't really use after this. So yeah, enjoy your Booyakabanga and let's to episode 7. The Arena of Carnage.
Yeah. So I like this one. We're back to dealing with the Triceratons again because we try to get the black hole generator piece back from them and steal it back from them. So we're invading their ship, and the turtles get caught.
Yeah, and this is something when I said that.
One thing I should point out, right, because this stuck out to me, we have the turtles training in a hologram room at the beginning of this episode, and it's basically just a bunch of different fighting game references. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
Yeah, that's cool that they can sneak in those 80s stuff.
That got me to smile. I enjoyed that. That was fun. Good on you.
Yeah. With that said, it also kind of Casey something to do in this season because, like I said, in this first half of the season, it's usually the turtles going into the fighting stuff, and April and Casey are just left in the ship. So here they actually get their chance to shine.
Yeah, this
and
is
the
like,
turtles.
again, this is nice because you actually get to see these characters do something, and it's not Casey being kind of an a-hole all the time, right? Like, again, I don't see why they didn't do more of this with both of these characters, but a lot of the times they just didn't. They're just kind of background in there for no reason and not really adding a whole lot or doing a whole lot.
And
At least
with
in
that
this
said,
one, they did.
And with that said, April is starting to develop more her psychic powers thanks to that necklace,
Like crystal,
which
yes.
which we will get to. A fun episode. Definitely, it's great that we can we are actually planning to take that generator piece back.
So
And
when the turtles get kept, oh, go ahead.
What do you want to say?
Oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish and then I'll start in. I'll be going for
No,
a little bit. I have a rant.
Okay. So I like I saw Arena. I said okay, there's going to be fight scenes, and the fight scenes in this show are great, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, this was good. So we're introduced to Zeno in this episode. Zeno is a Triceraton trader who did not want to use the black hole generator. And when he disagreed with the Emperor, he was disgraced as an admiral and thrown into Triceraton jail and made to fight in the Triceraton arena. Forever,
on that note, he is voiced by Michael Ironside, who played Dial in Free Willy and various other roles that I didn't find anything outside of that. So yeah, there you go.
So, with that said, this is where I get kind of disappointed in this season because we introduced something very interesting here, and it's basically just a one-note character in a one-note episode that goes nowhere and adds nothing. That there could potentially be people within the Triceraton army who don't like the idea or use of the black hole generator and would rather it not be used, and that's that, right? It introduces this, and this is where I say, like, why did we spend so much time with Lord Dreg? Why did we spend an entire episode dealing with the worm that amounted to nothing and went nowhere? Why is this a thing? Why are these episodes things when you have some interesting stuff here you could do with the Triceraton Empire? You even have Mozart saying later on in the season that he might want to take the position of Emperor himself as well, right? Because he's very power hungry in this season, right? Which, by the way, I'm not sure if I like Mozart's character all that much. They kind of turned him into this very whiny, annoying character that all he does is whine that stuff isn't happening when he wants it to happen, and people aren't listening to him even though they are listening to him because he wants more power. Like, he's very whiny. When in the previous season, the way they introduced him, he was not this kind of character at all. And that's kind of disappointing also, really. But we'll get to more of that a bit later. But this specifically, why are we introducing something like this in a one-note episode? Why do we not do more with it? And this is kind of my problem with this season, where there's a lot we could do with the Triceratons here, and we just don't do anything. Heck, we even have earlier in this season where, like, it seems to be that the Salamandrians are fighting the Triceratons, and they're going around trying to find allies to help them fight the Triceratons. That goes nowhere. We do nothing with that. And instead we replace it with, oh, it's Lord Dreg doing his thing again, being evil. Why? Just why? It feels very disappointing because we build up the Triceratons so much the previous season and in this season as well, and we just don't do much with them. We have kind of one-note episodes that are very interesting, but they ultimately go nowhere. They do nothing. Like Zeno...
I agree.
Saves the turtles in this episode, and I guess he dies for it, and that's it. We see Zeno no more. That's it. He's gone now. Okay. Sure, I guess.
So, anything else on this? I agree with you, though. Like, you taking the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, again, this isn't a bad episode by any means, right? Like, this is a fun and good and enjoyable episode.
Yeah, we should mention Wolf isn't talking about the episode specifically. He talks about how the show handles the
Yeah, I'm talking
stuff
about the
introduced in this
handling of the
episode.
Triceraton Empire overall, right? In this first half of the season. It wasn't something I enjoyed personally. Again, like I said earlier, I don't think the season is bad by any means. I think it just could have done more personally. Like,
Yeah,
I think it could have went further with Zeno and it could have done more with there being more Triceraton dissenters. They were just afraid to speak out against the use of the black hole generator because they saw what happened to Zeno. Like, I'm not saying we should redeem the Triceraton Empire or anything of that nature, but you could have done more with this potentially, right? There could have been more here if we would have spent more time with the Triceratons. Because you do have to remember, right? The Triceratons were introduced as this empire of they had the Black World generator used on their home. And we show here that this entire season just kind of says, oh, the Triceratons are evil, they're bad guys. Who cares if they lost their home and had the black hole generator used on them? They're going around destroying the Krang. I mean, they have good reason to want to destroy the Krang. The Krang used the black hole generator on their home. But here it's just, oh, the Triceratons are evil. But why, though? Why couldn't we do more with that? Are the Triceratons just straight evil, and that's why the Krang used the black hole generator on their home in the first place? Is there more going on here? Like, what? Like, it's just, you introduced these ideas in the previous season, you do stuff here in this season, but you just go nowhere with it. And that seems like either you wanted to do something and you just weren't able to or weren't allowed to, or you just gave us these one-offs and said, that's enough, who cares? Because you didn't care. And if you didn't care, I think that's even worse because it's just insulting my intelligence and the intelligence of your audience at that point. Like, you can do more with this. I get this kind of show is aimed more at a younger generation than me, at a younger audience than I am, but it's still insulting to their intelligence if you think they couldn't handle issues and ideas and things like that, you know? It's a letdown, in my opinion.
Okay. Again, good point. I'll agree with that.
Not hating on the season.
Yeah,
because
of course.
I know this entire show is near and dear to your heart, and I don't want to hate on it.
No.
I'm trying not to hate on it, but it is kind of an issue that I had.
Wolf, this is a podcast, okay? The reason we're doing this is to discuss. If we agree on everything, it's not going to be interesting.
This is where we end the show because I've pissed HC off enough by hating on his favorite show.
Okay, one, this is not necessarily my favorite show and all be all. And second of all, even if it was, it doesn't mean I can be critical of it and here talk about it.
If you ever hate on Ruby, though, we're done. You can't hate on Ruby. Ruby is perfect in every way.
You see? You're the person you're claiming to be. But anyway, yeah, I get the rant. I agree with you. Moving on to the war for the...
Sorry.
It's okay. These are good points. So moving on to the war for Dimension F.
Mm-hmm. So first off, you mentioned earlier that we have a cut to Casey and April being left in the ship and being angry about it.
This is the episode.
This is the episode where we get that cut, and I love that cut because you just see April sitting in a chair reading a magazine, being very hurt and upset, and Casey just in the background with his bat, just beating on the floor,
smacking his bat on the floor.
I like that. Perfect. That was funny. That was a good cut. I enjoyed that. Very well done.
Yeah. So with that said, we are meeting the Outram Council, and you remember I told you to wait on like some of the Krang humanoid bodies that they made, of like Elma and everything. We can see now that they are based on actual Outram bodies.
Yeah.
Which I thought was clever, and we also learned a bit about the history of the Outrams with the Krang, which is very interesting.
Krang Prime was the one who found the mutagen first, and basically took over the other Krang and created the Krang, right? Like, Krang was also, affected by the mutagen.
Yes.
And that the Outrams weren't the way you see the Krang, right? Like, the Outrams are the Krang. Like, the Outrams and the Krang are the same thing. They're the same species. The Krang were originally the Outram. It's just when Krang Prime came into contact with the mutagen, Krang Prime was able to develop a hive mind and take over many of the other Outram. And so they all just became known as Krang.
Yeah, which again, it's a nice reference to the idea that Krang from the original 80s cartoon was inspired by the Utrams from the comics. And, so it's nice that they actually managed to work this into a connection between the two
it's really
species.
well done.
So, kudos.
Also, we're introduced to the Salamandrians here again because they're trying to ally themselves with the Krang to attack the Triceratons, which is very interesting because you have an entire discussion with the Salamandrians and Krang Subprime where, Krang Subprime tells them we don't want to fight the Triceratons. We actively try to run away from the Triceratons because we can't fight them. I think that's interesting, personally. And, we learn that the Salamandrians are captured, and we get more of Raph and Mona's relationship developing. And like I said here, I like the Salamandrians, and this is the episode where they started to grow on me a lot more. We get to see Bishop being an absolute badass and taking on Krang Subprime too, which is
That's always great.
Really love Bishop. We also learned that Krang Subprime used to be Knight in the Utrom Council, apparently, which is interesting.
Yeah, so that's what I said. They story, which is one interesting, and two very, very respectful to the source material. So it's like
I agree.
Two birds, one stone. How can you not like it? By the way, I think just remind me, remind me of this. Is this the episode which ends with Mona and Raph kissing, or am I confusing it with something?
I mean, many episodes end with. Quite a few episodes with.
I think
with that.
I think because this specific one has like when the other turtles are watching Raph and Leo is like, I can understand half mutants like Karai, but aliens, and it's like, you talked about racism. This is pretty racist, if you ask me.
This is true. This is very true.
Well,
we're being lizard person racist. This show is racist to lizard people.
Well, some species have to get it, I guess. Okay, with that unfunny joke out of the way, let's move. Yeah, blame me all you want. I'm walking with what's given to me.
This is true.
With that said, we're going to the Cosmic Ocean.
This is where this scene of the Cosmic Ocean, absolutely gorgeous, very beautiful. Love this scene.
Yeah,
very
and
beautiful,
also
very nice.
Also, on that note, there's a point where the Fugitoid says that he can get the ship across a certain part in like 2 minutes and a few seconds. That is a reference to a very tough level in the original NES Ninja Turtles game, where you have to swim across an ocean filled with electric stuff in that amount of time. So it's a reference to that obstacle.
Neat little tidbit. So in this one, we've come to the Cosmic Ocean to get back to gain the second piece of the black hole generator, which is held by the Varuna.
Hilda.
Which is held by the Varuna people, the Varuna aliens, I think, and their queen is Hidalra.
Hidalra.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
That's it. I think so as well. But so
she ends up sending the turtles on a quest to face off against this giant alien beast thing that's kind of like a Cthulhu thing that I don't remember the name of. And that's kind of it. We have the return of Armagon in this one. He's tracking the turtles still. He finds out about the black hole generator as well, and he's trying to steal it from them also. And
okay, it's an okay episode. It moves the plot along a bit.
I really like this one. I liked Hidalra. as a character, right? Any particular person she was voiced by that was new?
Not that I know. No, I think it's a new character. No,
it is a new character.
No voice cast info on this one.
Already failing at your job, man.
Well, one, you kind of dropped it on me. Two, I just didn't find anything on him. That's it.
Tisk tisk.
This skin did.
But yeah, I like this episode. It continues on the plot fairly well, and it works. I like the Varuna. I like Hidalra as a character. I like this.
Yeah, again, fine episode. But anything else you have to say before we move on to the next one?
She was Hidalra was voiced by Lucy Lawless, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Doing your job for you.
Well, you are not going to do my job for me with this next episode, because next one is Transdimensional Turtles. I'm curious, what do you think about this?
I liked it. Like it's definitely a side episode, but at least it's an enjoyable side episode, right? Because in this episode we're introduced to the 80s Turtles again, although the old 80s cartoon did not look like that, but anyways.
They did their best mimicking that style, though.
I don't see why they didn't mimic it entirely, but maybe that's just me.
On that note, yes, we know, this is the actual introduction of the 80s Turtles into this show. Mm-hmm. And yes, like in that cameo from season 2, these are indeed Cam Clark, Townsend Coleman, Barry Gordon, and Rob Paulson voicing the iconic characters.
They even make a joke about how Raph and Donnie sound the same.
I was so looking forward to that, and that did not disappoint. Thank you, Sean.
It was good. I enjoyed that. That was funny.
And on that note, we are also introduced to the 80s Krang, who, as expected, is voiced by his original actor as well, Pat Fraley, who... And you cannot hate this voice. This voice is magnificent.
No, it's fun. And I like the fact that they tie him into the other Krang, right? Where he was banished to this other dimension with the other turtles, right?
Yeah, that was very clever.
I also enjoyed the fact that we even see I loved how they did the comic book portion of this.
Yeah, when they made the comic turtles
because
for a bit.
we actually go into actual comic panels and we see the comic turtles who don't talk, and they're just instantly trying to go after the other turtles, and we see how the 80s turtles and the 2012 turtles move very fluidly with 3D animation and everything through each of the comic panels, but the comic turtles kind of move through the panels.
That's actually something that in the 80s dimension, the 2012 turtles are 2D.
Yes.
In the 2012 dimension, the 80s turtles are 3D. But in the comic world, it's the Donatellos that go there. So 80s Don is 2D, but 2012 Donatello is 3D. I like that. That was a cool touch.
This was there was, to me, this episode felt like it had a lot of. Honestly, I would say it felt like this episode had quite a bit of love put into it of people who were fans of the old Turtles.
Yeah,
right?
you can tell there's a lot of love and passion to the original cartoon.
And I'll give them absolutely a ton of credit for that. This episode was really well done. It's not much plot wise. It doesn't really add anything. It's kind of just a side episode, but it's really good as far as side episodes go.
Yeah, but now for one reference that I think I need to point, a few references that we are going to point out here, because what can you do? I love the fact that 80s Donnie's beam that teleports them between dimensions is just there. It just exists. Like everything Donnie made in that show. Donatello was really a plot convenience with all of his inventions in the 80s cartoon. So this, I like the fact that he just made it. That's how it is.
And they make a joke about that too.
Yep. Also, when the turtles meet each other, I love the fact that Donnie attack himself, Leo attacks himself, Raph attacks himself. Mikey is just Mikey, and just the Michelangelos are like, you're like me, dude. This is my Michelangelo is the best. He's the friendliest one. There you go. Fan appreciation moment over. But another thing I like is that
I heard that reference to a very certain TMNT movie that you love to talk about.
Yeah, the Megan Fox line.
You got that one real quick.
Yeah, because there aren't any other references to that movie in this episode. And I also love how they gave Gilbert Gottfried the chance to say it. Like, it made it funnier.
Mm-hmm.
On that,
I wonder if that was ad-libbed by him. I wonder if he ad-libbed
who,
that, because he's prone to ad-lib quite a bit as well. Like
who knows?
him and Robin Williams, if I'm not mistaken, are very much like they'll ad-lib a lot of lines. Because I know a lot of stuff from Robin Williams as Genie was ad-libbed, right? Like that was just him kind of going off and just doing his thing. Gilbert Gottfried's prone to do that quite a bit too from time to time. So I wonder if that was ad-libbed by him and they just said, leave it in.
I would say it's probably this was probably something in the script, considering other references to that movie later in this season. But anyway, another few references I do like. Every time 80s Leo, wants to yell "Turtle Power" like in the cartoon, and 2012 Leo would be like, "Whoa, no Turtle Power! This is my team. You're not giving orders to my team."
It's kind of annoying though because we're doing another small later spat thing. It's like, aren't you over this by now? We're visiting that well again, even if it's briefly. We're still visiting that Leo's the leader. He's got to have leader issues. It's like, why? We didn't need to do that. You had you have a good, interesting episode. You don't need to involve drama in it for no good reason. It works.
Which,
as is.
what do you think about the moment they actually go back and see Splinter?
Because I enjoyed that. That was fun. Like, that was well done, I thought. And considering, like, they've been away from Splinter and home for such a long time and they finally get to see it briefly. I will say, like, the whole time paradox thing of Splinter saying, "Oh, you just left. Why are you already back here?" Like, pulling out my hair. You're trying to explain it. You're trying to do something with the whole time paradox thing, but dear God, you come in later and you just say, "Fuck all of that. We're not going to bother with it anymore. I'm pulling out my hair here. I'm just pulling out my hair. You're annoying me with that. I'm telling you." I'm gonna keep nitpicking because you gave me answers. But before you did it well, and then you just got to the end and you just said, fuck it." Girl.
There's one other reference to point out here. In the final fight, there's a point where 80s Raph pulls out a pizza and slams it at one of the crankbutts. Mm-hmm. And then when 2012 Raph asks him, where the hell did you get pizza? And 80s Raph says, "Give me a break." That's a direct reference to the 80s show first intro, where Raph does push a pizza to the screen. And the line that goes in that song is but true. Then he actually says, "Give me a break." So that's it's a cute reference. It's there to get you to smile. I'll take it.
Yeah,
and because I know Turtles fans are probably expected me to comment on this, so I will for a quick second. In 2009, people probably remember there was a 3-parter special, which was also the series finale of the 2003 series, where the 2003 Turtles met the 80s Turtles. That special was an hour and a half. This one is a mere 22 minutes. But the thing about the 2003 special is that none of the voice actors returned because some sort of union issue, from what I've heard. Mm-hmm. And also, people didn't really like how the 80s Turtles were a bit too jokey. Like, all of them were essentially just to an extent. So I do like how in here they do keep their personalities. Like, Raphael is still the sassy one. Like, I love when he calls the 2012 Turtles imposters. Mm-hmm. Or that, like, when he wants to say he's doing something, is like, the real Raphael is on it, or something like that. Yeah. That's cool. So, you can say that these Turtles are a bit goofier. They do have their own personalities. They're not the same character, and they're also confident in their fighting, which I appreciate.
They do, they do know how to take things seriously when it comes down to it. Like, you can see that. Overall, I think this was a fun episode. This was really well done. This was a good tribute to the 80s show and a good tribute to the comics, too, I thought. Like, it involved all three. Even if the comic Turtles were a big mainstay, they were there, and it was very well done. And I love the attention to detail here.
Yeah, so you say that Turtles Forever all turtles, but not to this kind of artistic way. They were just animated in black and white. So
Like this
uh,
took the extra step, and it really shows, and I really enjoyed it for that.
yeah, so even though it's shorter, I prefer this one of Turtles Forever
Yeah,
personally.
I'd agree.
So with that said, we are going back to space
Mm-hmm.
with Revenge of the Triceratops. So, what do you have to say about this one outside
So
of the
this
fact that
was
it's
the one where Mozart really kind of stood out as just, man, he just whines about everything way too much. He really, they set him up in the previous season a lot better, and they just kind of said, okay, we have to use this character more. What do we do with him? Let's make him power hungry and kind of whiny, and that's it. It's just, it
yeah,
gets kind of annoying very quickly, if I'm honest.
and I also I get what they're trying to do. I get if some people like it, but I didn't really feel entire Donnie's feeling fear to the future toy thing. Like,
Yeah, it just kind of seems forced in a way. Like this entire episode kind of is basically revolving around the Triceratons come back, the ship that they're on is majorly damaged. They're in trouble. The Fugitoid is down for the count temporarily, and so it's all up to Donnie to figure things out. And Donnie's feeling very inferior to the Fugitoid because the Fugitoid is much smarter than Donnie, right? So especially when it comes to space travel and dealing with all this, because the Fugitoid's been space traveling for a long time. Donnie's not, right? Donnie's still fairly new to all
that's
this, so he has to figure out so much stuff, and it just kind of feels like needless drama in a way.
yeah. Because one dude, there are going to be people with more experiences and maybe even intelligence than you. Get
Mm-hmm.
over it. Two, two. I just don't like this kind of plots, honestly. Like, oh, this one is better than me, but I'm going to fight in my own way and then find out that I'm good in my own way. We kind of also did this with Danny a few times before, so
It's not a bad episode, but it involves the Triceratons at least, but it doesn't really add or do much. They do end up losing the two black hole generator pieces that they do have. The Triceratons do get them back, so it does do a little bit for the plot and the story and moves it forward a bit, and kind of shows us how the Triceratons regain control of the black coal generator pieces. But that's kind of it,
yeah.
essentially, really.
Yeah, it's not the best episode, and I would gladly move on. I have nothing to say on it.
Yeah, sure.
With that said, episode 12, The Evil of Dread.
Hmm.
I can already tell you don't like this.
Discord's breaking up a bit on me. You're going roboti.
Oh, how about now?
Yeah. If you want to repeat what you said previously, we should be good now. It's fixed now.
Okay, so I just said, just by the title, I want to hear your opinion on this episode on The Evil of Dread.
Episode 12, yeah, The Evil of Dreg. So this is where we go to Dreg's home planet to save the Salamandrians because Mona comes back and says that Salcamander's been captured by Dreg. Obviously, from the very beginning, this is all a trap. Like, they're not exactly being, subtle with this. Like, they have the camera focus on
You
Mona
know,
after she says it for an extended period of time, and she looks distraught. I'm like, okay, so this is a trap. She's lying. Like,
this is a trap, and also, I get, I get that they were like trying to play the entire. We had no choice, but at the same time, did we really need this plot?
it
I'll admit,
again. It's kind of
I
like the last
enjoyed.
episode where, like, this isn't a bad episode, but it does feel kind of like, hey, we need to have like a betrayal episode with Mona and Raph and
I will say this: I enjoyed
create
Raph's.
needless drama.
I did enjoy Raph's conflict in this episode more than Donnie's.
It was interesting. It was definitely interesting, right? Like it works, I think. Like it definitely works for his character, and it's way better than the conflict Donnie had with April. Like that felt way more needless than this did. This at least had some kind of thing going for it of Mona's acting and doing what she's doing for the better of for the sake of her people to have her planet not be destroyed. So I can at least say that is something that's better than what they did with Donnie and April, but it's just kind of, it feels needless, to be honest. It does feel a little bit needless.
Yeah, man. It's an episode that happens, and honestly, the betrayal of the Salamandrians, even though it affects Raph in this episode, it doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of the season, or at least this part of the season. So,
Well, this is, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we see the Salamandrians, really.
yeah, not only that, it doesn't really affect anything between Raph and Mona. Like they're back to being
they're back together at the end of the episode because Raph figures out that she had no choice and she didn't mean to, and she does say that she loved him. So that's kind of it. Again, like after this, that's the end of the Salamandrians. That's the end of their relationship. We don't see the Salamandrians again after this. I think this is Armagon's last episode as well. Yes, Dreg, even though we do end up seeing Dreg supposedly destroyed, isn't destroyed. And we also see this weird thing of Dreg might be a robot. What? Like Raph knocks Dreg's head off and it looks like Dreg might be some kind of robot or something. Like, I'm not sure what's going on there.
I will keep quiet for now.
Oh boy.
So, episode 13, the ever-burning fire. So in this episode, we are,
we are kind of in a row with Dragon. Woo! I hate it. I just, again, we involve Dreg. Like, this is a Triceraton episode, and we involve Dreg in a Triceraton episode because we're here to get the final piece of the black coal generator, which is on this fiery volcano planet, and it's protected by a giant turtle. Who, by the way, this giant turtle apparently can fly, and it has a jetpack.
That giant turtle, who's known as Toka. is a reference to Toka from the second live action movie. We already had Razar, so now we have Toka.
Okay, it's neat. Like, I like Toka. I think the most of this episode is good. It's just, it feels silly that once again we're involving Dreg for not very good reason. And supposedly this is the end of Dreg because he gets, sent out into the vacuum of space in this episode. So supposedly that's the end of him. I doubt it is the end of him, but supposedly it is. And
yeah, but at least it's the end. We don't see him for the rest of the season. So
the rest of this season. So we do see him in the next season, don't we?
Something. I think he does. I think we do. I just don't remember clearly at the moment. But expect to see him again in 5, just to be sure.
This is our last episode of In Space, and it just kind of shows like we had 1, 2. With the Triceratons, we had, not counting episode 14, since that's us back on Earth again, we had 1, 2, 3, and I guess you can involve episode 5 as well, the Ancient Aeons one. So 4 episodes with the Triceratons. When we had 1, 2, 4 episodes with Dreg as well, and it just kind of seals. And 3 of those episodes were focused on just Dreg, and the Triceratons and Dreg had to share this episode together. And it just kind of seems like, why couldn't we just leave Dreg off and out of this and focus more on them? I don't know. I just don't like Dreg's character, I guess. Sorry.
Well, not blaming you.
Also, Chompy Picasso. That's adorable. These names are stupid, but they're fun. And Chompy is adorable as a little fire turtle.
Yeah, he kind of takes over as Raph's new pet turtle. For the rest
he replaces Spike. Or Slash.
Yeah.
And we should say, like, at the end of this, Dreg is supposedly killed, and the Triceratons blow up a star and make a star go supernova in order to get rid of Toka. And so we see Toka blasted off into space, and we think she's gone. Obviously, Toka will be back later because Raph still has Toka's baby.
Yeah.
So, spoilers, Toka comes back later.
Well, people who are listening to this already know what's going on in the rest of. So yeah,
Maybe they
not
don't.
a,
Maybe they're listening to us talk about this and they didn't want spoilers. Well, guess what? You just got spoiled. Ha 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 ha.
On that note, it's an episode. It's an episode that happens. We
It's
do
the
get
ending of
the
our. It's pretty much the ending of our journey in space, and it's a little lackluster, but
because
overall it works.
because
It's not terrible.
because the next episode is our mid-season special, Earth's Last Stand, which kind of
Not two-parter.
concludes.
No mid-season two-parter this season though.
Yeah, even the what's it called, the season finale is not necessarily too powerful,
Yeah.
but oh well.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just different, right?
Yeah, but this is our mid-season special, which is Earth's Last Stand. I like this episode a lot.
Yeah.
It's a good conclusion. I will say though that we do hear that the Fugitoid is is the creator of what is called the Heart of Darkness.
Yeah, the black hole generator. Yeah.
Yeah, which is the black hole generator, and I think Leo being angry at him for on the one hand is right. On the other hand, we don't really have time for drama. We need to stop.
Again, it feels like we needed to have the whole Lyra revealed thing. It feels a bit needless, right? Like it feels like it comes out of nowhere. It's not surprising, sure, but it just comes out of nowhere. There's no build up to it. It's just, hey guys, I wanted to wait and tell you this when you all got to know me better, but I'm the one who created the black hole generator. Krang Subprime came to me and offered me a crap ton of money to buy it, and so I sold it because I wanted to continue my research. This was apparently centuries ago, because the Fugitoid's a couple 100 years old, if not older, maybe by the way he talks and brings it up. So this is revealed. Everyone gets angry at him and says they can't trust him anymore, even though he's saved their life countless times and he's done all this for them. They can no longer trust him. He must be evil. He must have other alternative evil plans for the black hole generator. And Leo's the one who makes the biggest deal about this and kind of gets in the way because of this whole nonsense drama. It's just kind of annoying, really.
Yeah, because also, I get that if he's angry, I get that maybe the Fugitoid should have told him this earlier.
I get
but
it,
this
but
goes
it
on.
Kind of comes out of nowhere and just doesn't.
Yeah, one, it's out of nowhere. Two, it's not the time. Three, it doesn't really affect anything in the long run. Like when you look at the end of this episode, what did this accomplish?
I guess you could argue because spoilers, the Fugitoid sacrifices himself to destroy the black hole generator and the Triceraton Empire all in one fell swoop, but it's kind of like, I guess it's supposed to make his sacrifice mean more, but it doesn't, because here's the issue. Time paradox being time travel being what it is, there's two sets of turtles, there's two Fugitoids. So immediately after Fugitoid kills himself, sacrifices himself, right? Because the black hole generator can only be destroyed by a combination of dark matter energy and a fusion reactor, right? So the Fugitoid has a fusion reactor powering his robot body, and his ship works off of dark matter energy. So he, sets up both to blow up, and that destroys the dark hole generator and destroys the Triceraton Empire. So that happens. It's a nice little moment. It works really well. Everyone kind of says, hey, don't do this. It's a good moment, but it's like it's taken away because the Fugitoid appears immediately afterwards. His past self reappears and says to all the past turtles that are still on Earth fighting, and everything, hey, you guys want to go on a space adventure? And they all say, yeah, we're all going on a space adventure. So they all leave. What happens when that space adventure is done and they want to come back to Earth, by the by? How does the time paradox thing work here?
That's something that's not explained, and I figured you were talking about that.
Yes, this is why I'm saying, like, they have the whole, like, they actively, in my opinion, did this thing of not having the turtles meet themselves back in the Transdimensional Turtles episode on episode... which one was that? Yeah, episode 10, the Transdimensional Turtles episode. They have the entire thing of the turtles not meeting their past selves, and they go through that. But then we get here, and they just kind of hand wave it away, like, fuck it. Who cares, right? No one cares. It's time travel. Who cares? We don't have to do it perfectly right. Who cares? I care. I care. That's who cares. I care. You did it wrong, and it angers me and it annoys me, and I will not let you live it down. You did fairly well with it you did the bare minimum of effort, and you did fairly well with it at the very least. All up until this point, why do you hand wave it away with just, hey, everyone goes on a space adventure now? All the past people go on another space adventure. Woo. Fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I care. This is bad. I'm sorry. I hate it.
I agree.
I'm nitpicking, I know, right? Like, I'm being very nitpicky with this. I will admit, it's not the worst thing ever. It does feel very hand-wavy, though, in my personal opinion. But other than that, like, and it does take away from the Fugitoid's sacrifice, right? Where we see the Fugitoid's past self immediately show up. But also at the same time, they do this again, where we cut to the Fugitoid's head in space, and oh, he's not dead, actually. He's still alive. Why?
This
Why did you
annoys
do
me.
that? You had this character do this. Like the past thing, I could at least, the time travel thing of his past self coming in, I could at least say that's a part of the moment because you have Leo trying to make up for the terrible things he said to the Fugitoid before he killed himself, right? And say, like, hey, trust the Fugitoid. He's actually a really good person, right? Like, I can at least say that works with the moment. But then you cut to the very ending of this episode where you see the Fugitoid's head floating in space and he's still alive. Why? Why did you do that? Why couldn't you just let it be? Why couldn't you let the character end the way he ended? Why? I have to ask why. You had a good moment. Don't ruin it.
I agree. Because I love his sacrifice. It was emotional. It was great. But at the same time, we don't see the Fugitoid next season. So,
like, yeah, why do that? Why show that? Like, you've already shown that the past Fugitoid still exists, so we know he's still there. So if people still love the character, he's not dead or gone. You had no reason to show us the head floating in space and that it's still powered and that he might still be alive. It just feels needless. And once again, it takes away from the permanence of death that this series could have. It makes death more meaningless. And so when we finally do get a major character death, it just doesn't have the same impact that it could have had because, well, they may not be dead because the show might bring them back. It
so
hurts
yeah,
you.
that did annoy me that the show actually didn't bring him back.
And even if they didn't bring him back, it's still like it hurts the show when they show his head still floating in space and that he's still technically, quote unquote, alive. It does more damage, it does more harm than good to do something like that. If you watch this episode, quit before you see that scene, and you'll have a much better episode. Like this show, this little scene of him, if the Fugitoid's head floating in space, is at the very end. So the second you see the Fugitoid sacrifice himself, the second you see everyone's past selves leave off for space, stop the episode there. That's where the episode ends for you. You've had a very enjoyable episode at that point. Ignore that ending scene; it doesn't exist, and the episode is way better for it.
I'll agree. With that said,
Other than
second,
that,
actually,
great episode.
what do you think about the fact that we are no longer in space and Splinter is back and everything? What did you think of that?
Do what now?
What did you think about the fact we are no longer in space, back in New York
I mean,
with
it
Splinter
makes
and everything?
sense. Like I said, I do think we should have spent longer with the Triceratons and dealing with them more because they felt like they were supposed to be a much bigger threat than what they ended up being. But it does make sense that we would kind of come back to the city and finish up with our biggest main villain who still hasn't been dealt with, Splinter. Yeah, Splinter's our main villain. No, Shredder, right? And I do like how, in this... It did strike me as strange, however, how all of a sudden Splinter kind of caught the Shredder's attack this now, right? it doesn't. I don't know if they're trying to say like, hey, because they went back in time, they somehow changed things. It doesn't make a ton of sense, really. Like it kind of comes out of nowhere.
It's time travel. Time travel is messy.
But you can do it better.
I get it. I get what you mean.
Like it works though because you see Splinter absolutely destroy Shredder in this. Like Splinter goes ham on Shredder, like just tears him apart. So I liked it though. Like the Splinter and Shredder's fight was really good. Like again, it's not the worst thing ever. Again, this was a really fun, a really enjoyable episode, and it is. We had our time away from the city. It is nice to be back in the city, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Like again, there's nothing wrong with it. I have my issues with how they did the Fugitoid's death, but other than that, like this was a really well done episode.
So with that said, the second part of the season,
Earth's the city at war.
City at war.
So we start off with April becoming a full-fledged Konoichi.
Yeah, that's cool. I dig that. And another thing I dig is Karai is back now. Now the leader of the Foot Clan, and
we have
she's
another love interest for Mikey, by the by.
Yeah,
Shinigami.
Yeah, that's Shinigami, voiced by Gwendoline Yeo. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Nothing specific on her, but she's done a lot of voice work in video games, TV shows, movies. She has a lot of credits to her name.
Yeah, very, very many.
So what did you think about Shinigami?
I think she's fun. I liked her character. She's not like there's not a lot to her. She's not very well fleshed out or gone into very much. She's just Karai's second in command, I guess you would say.
She's Karai's bestie.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's kind of it. I will admit the whole Splinter coming in and saying like, hey, like, because we're introduced to Shinigami because she attacks the turtles in April, and she takes April's weapon as a rite of passage for Karai, right? Like Karai sends her out to do this as a test to see what she's capable of and her skills and abilities, right? And Shinigami's fun. Like she seems like a really fun character. I enjoyed her. I loved though that after that scene we get a scene of Splinter telling them, "Hey, this could be bad. We need to find out what's going on and why Karai and who Shinigami's working for, and if she's working for the Shredder or what's going on there." And we see him pull out a cheese cone and start eating it. That made me laugh. That was funny.
Yeah,
that was good. I laughed at that. That was funny. It was stupid, but it made me laugh, and it was funny. I liked it. Also, hey, Ice Cream Kitty is back. Woo. Best character in the show, bar none. Nothing beats Ice Cream Kitty.
Yeah, Ice Cream Kitty is still around. Always great. Another thing I did like is the episode where we actually have, because, April is kind of doubting herself that, once she became a full Kunoichi, she did lose her first fight. But then she does have a great moment in the end alongside Karai and Shinigami.
Well, we also have a little bit of growth for Leo here that I actually liked and enjoyed, where he's telling April, hey, I've been there. Don't fall down this road. Like, you actually have him kind of taking over a bit of Splinter's role and trying to be like the sensei and everything and saying, hey, I've been down that path. Don't fall down it. It does you no good. Like, I like that. That was good. That was well done. That was a bit of growth from Leo as well that I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So well done there.
Really good. And I don't have much to say about this one. But,
we do see Splinter. We do see Shredder at the end of this episode, and this is where you find out that Splinter really hurt Shredder bad, like very, very bad, apparently. In the previous episode where they fought, it didn't look like he hurt him that badly, but you see Shredder in this, and like he's all bandaged up and laying in bed and living off of different machines that are keeping him alive and everything. It's like he's really bad off. Like, whoa.
Yeah,
apparently Splinter did him a number that I did not expect.
Mm-hmm.
And also it seems that Shredder's going to try and mutate himself.
Mm-hmm. Which we will get into later on in a few episodes.
or
because
mutagen HC.
yeah, we will get to
No.
it.
I told
We
you.
will get.
We can't cover any more mutagen. We're done now. The season ends
Wolf,
here.
You told me a lot of things. Not all of them were true. I'm going to assume this is not true as well, and the joke really ran its course.
I'm all talk, but I still have to make the talk count. I still have to do the talk, HC. Even if I don't actually commit, I still have to do the talk.
Fair, but shut up for now. Okay. Anyway, moving on to episode 16, which kind of continues the Broken Foot. So Leo now goes on a secret mission to ally himself with Karai and Shinigami to,
go after Shredder's business associates and partners and holdings. Like they're going after Shredder's empire, the Foot Clan's empire.
Yeah, they're going through that, but as this is going on, Donatello gets injured, and which does cause the other, which does, and this kind of leads me to something when the other Turtles find out that Leo has been aligning himself secretly with Karai and Shinigami. There's a point where Raph tells them, and you call me out for wanting to be that Night Watcher guy. And going solo. That's a reference to the 2007 TMNT movie where Raphael actually becomes a vigilante once Leo is away, called the Night Watcher.
Well, they do that in a previous season too, though, where Raph tries to go off on his own as well and be with Slash and doing his own thing there. And,
yeah,
I think that's a reference to that too, right?
It might be, but this is very direct because he actually says the name Night Watcher.
Oh. Okay.
And actually referencing how Leo hated watching that movie once he came back.
Okay.
So that's cool. That's a cool reference. Other than that, and again, great fight sequences.
Yeah.
No complaints there. And at the end, using words of wisdom from Splinter, Karai decides that she's not going to go after Shredder's businesses anymore, because she wants to go after Shredder himself. And that's where we end.
Yep. We end on her still committing to her, idea of revenge. And I like this whole little storyline of Karai trying to reestablish the Foot and do something better with it, right? And feeling like she needs to make amends for all the terrible things she and Shredder did.
Yeah.
In the past.
Because,
right?
Because for now, the Foot is known for everything that Shredder's done. And, with the Tiger Club, Bradford and everyone. And she's trying to start anew with the Foot. She still wants to take over.
But new Foot Ninja, too. Like, she has her own Foot Ninja that she works with. And I like this. I like it a lot. It's really well done.
I agree. So, what are we going to do with the fact that Karai wants to kill Shredder? Nothing in the next episode. Because the next episode is the Insecta Trifecta.
And it's all mutagen based with Stockman. Whoa.
No. Okay, this is not the mutagen I'm about to give. This comes later, but yeah, so
this kind of goes nowhere and doesn't do much, really. If I'm not mistaken.
If you're not mistaken.
Is it No, that's the next episode. Never mind, ignore me for now. I'll get to it. I'll have something to rant and complain about a little bit later. This episode is Raph having his insect phobia again, his problem with fear of bugs. And we do see Mona pop up in this a little bit as well, but she's not actually there.
Yeah, this is actually kind of a funny part where, Raph sees Mona as that mutant cockroach that he's fighting, and he actually kissing it. I don't know. That got me to laugh. It's gross, but it got me.
He's kissing the mutant ant because he thinks the mutant ant is Mona because he's freaking out so much. It was funny. I will admit. I laughed. I will also admit fucking Turflido is actually growing on me. I find it kind of funny. I enjoyed it in this episode. The stupid buzz thing. It got me to laugh, so I'll admit it's starting to grow on me.
Okay, there you go.
Also, Splinter wisdom, best wisdom, because Splinter literally says, hey, repeat these mantras, and these mantras will help you. And the mantras basically mean, this means nothing, because fear means nothing. Splinter wisdom is best wisdom. And Splinter even tells Raph, hey, don't tell your brothers what that mantra means or that I played this trick on you because I might want to try it on them in the future. That was fun. I enjoyed that. That was good. Yeah. This isn't a very interesting episode. It doesn't go much of anywhere, but there are some fun little moments here.
Which leads us to Mutant Gangland. So
this one.
This is the introduction of Don Vizioso.
Also, we're revisiting the well of Raph's the Angry when he leaves the team again. Ugh. Ugh. Why? I have to come back. I have to bring this up again. Why are we doing this again? Why do we have to go through the whole idea that Raph's the Angry one? We get it. I want to see them move forward. We've seen Raph leave the team more than once in these in the 4 seasons that we've watched so far. We've seen Raph be angry at his teammates. We've seen him leave the team before. We saw him learn a lesson about this. We even go back to season 2, I believe it was. We had the entire episode of the Vision Quest and Raph supposedly learning to conquer his anger and use his anger to fuel his own power and make him stronger. What happened to that episode? Why are we back at this again? Why has Raph apparently not learned to control his anger when he apparently learned to control his anger? Why are we revisiting it? It feels pointless. It feels like, hey, we need something to tie this episode together with, hey, Raph's the Angry one, let's revisit that again. Why? You don't need to keep doing this. And this is why I come out and say, I think this show flanderizes the Turtles more often than it doesn't. And it just feels pointless. Because you had an interesting episode of this, previous criminal gang, this previous mafia gang wanting to try and do good, quote unquote good for the city by ridding the city of mutants. This is interesting. You could do something here with that. You don't need to focus it in Raph being the angry one. You have something interesting going on here. You don't need to add to that by revisiting an old well that we've revisited multiple times before. You just don't need to.
This episode
isn't bad, and the whole,
but it had more potential.
Yeah, you could do more with the city wants to rid itself of mutants, the mutants are a plague on the city, and so this gang sets itself up as, we're the good guys and we're going to get rid of the mutants. You could have done something with that. You even have one of your characters in the gang, side characters, background people mention, hey, first good thing we're done for the city. It's why not roll with that? Why not do something with that? We've seen storylines like that before of, mutants bad, regular humans good, get rid of mutants. The X-Men has done this before, but you could still do it in this episode and have it be a fun thing. I don't know. I'm not the fondest of how they went back to the Raph angry well, but otherwise this is an okay episode. It's more filler, but it's not bad filler.
It could have been better, but it's fine.
We have the heavy foreshadowing of Splinter saying, I may not always be here, Leonardo and Raphael, to help you out. Wow, okay, so you're really hammering home the fact that Splinter's going to die later this season. Spoilers.
Again.
Also,
but yeah,
we have Mondo Gecko join the mute animals, and we don't see Pigeon Pete around, and the response is hey, what happened to Pigeon Pete? We don't talk about Pigeon Pete. The fuck? The hell happened to Pigeon Pete? The fuck kind of explanation is that? The fuck you mean? We don't talk about Pigeon Pete. I don't care about Pigeon Pete, but the fuck is the explanation? The fuck?
I think they just wanted them out. So this is in a sense, it's kind of a lazy way out.
It's funny.
Time, it's funny. Yeah,
but
it's
at the same
joke.
time, the fuck. I want to know now. The fuck you mean we don't talk about Pigeon Pete?
There's probably a fan fiction.
And even with that, we see Pigeon Pete later. We see Pigeon Pete later in an episode. He doesn't say anything. He's just in the background, but he's still there. We still see him. So, the fuck you mean you don't talk about Pigeon Pete? He's right there. I don't know. That bothered me. It bothered me in a funny way. I found it funny that was their response. I don't know, it just stuck out as a weird thing to do and say. Other than that, though, this wasn't a
Okay.
bad episode. It was okay. It was kind of filler, but it was all right.
With that said, we are moving to the bat in
Episode
the
19.
bat in Belfry. I cannot talk.
Bat
But
in the Belfry.
yeah.
So this is our
Anyway,
referencing Marvel Comics episodes.
what Marvel comics? This is obviously 60s Batman.
I mean, yeah, but they also mention Fantastic Four with the Fantastic Four food groups. They mention another Marvel hero as well, I think. Like, and they talk about their comic books at the beginning of the episode. Like, we have our Marvel Comics heroes ripoff with the Fantastic Four, stuff like that. But
Yeah,
yes, the
and
main focus of this episode is like the old 80s or 60s
the
Adam West
win.
Batman stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the parodies are referred to as Wingnut and Screwloose.
Mm-hmm.
Wingnut is voiced by Darren Norris. People may remember as Cosmo, Jordan, and Tim is Dead in Fairly Odd Parents.
I would have really clapped for them if they could have got old Adam West to voice.
I'm not sure about this, but I think that was after Adam West passed. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure about this.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
If it wasn't and they could have got him, I would have absolutely well done. That's really good. Clap for you. But if they weren't able to, that's fair enough. I do understand that.
So like I said, Wingnut is voiced by Darren Norris, Cosmo, Jordan, and Tim is Dead in Fairly Odd Parents. Screwloose is voiced by Jack Bennett. Two people may know Johnny Bravo, Kowalski in the Penguin of Madagascar TV series, and many, many, many others.
Overall, this is more filler, kind of padding out the season
filler.
a bit, but it's fun. It's fun and enjoyable. We
filler,
do get a bit more of the Crystal in this episode and how April's having some issues going on with the Crystal. Like there's definitely something going on there. Like she's becoming way too attached to the Crystal. Like something's happening there, but otherwise, hey, comic book characters come to life because of the Crystal and something that's going on with it. But otherwise, it's fun. This is a fun episode. Like we have a bit of the Crystal and what's going on with April with that going on, but the big focus is comic book heroes coming to life and Mikey and Casey getting to hang out with their comic book heroes for a bit. It's fun.
Yeah. So that leads us to the next episode 20. The Super Shredder.
Yes. The Shredder has mutated himself.
Okay, so
Splinter and Shredder both die in this episode. Okay, cool.
Okay, here's the thing about the Super Shredder. They don't die. When you said about the entire mutagen thing, this is what I have to say. Super Shredder comes from the second live-action movie, from the 90s. And if you haven't seen that movie, Super Shredder was a very cool concept. It's Shredder taking the mutagen and turning into a big-ass monster. But it's such an anticlimax because the Turtles don't even fight him. He dooms himself by destroying a building and, dropping a roof over his head. That's how the thing dies. So it was super disappointing, and to this day, if you ask people about this movie, this is probably what they're going to be. This is such a disappointing climax.
It's done well here, though.
Yeah, so here, even though you hate the mutagen, it was actually done really fucking well.
This is one of the few times the mutagen actually worked and was used in a good way, because this shows, just how consumed by his want for revenge that Shredder is, right? That he's willing to turn himself into an actual monster to achieve his revenge.
Yeah, and he actually, once he does this,
so long that I'm not the monster, Hamato Yoshi is the monster, he's the one who's destroyed everything, he's destroyed my entire life. But in this consumed, I'll get it out eventually, in being consumed by this revenge and his so fervent belief that Hamato Yoshi, that Splinter is the monster, Shredder ends up becoming the monster that he so despises. He ends up becoming a monster himself. He ends up becoming, infusing himself with mutagen, something that he hates, in order to achieve his revenge. I like this. This is done well. This is done really well. Like, this is good in how it's set up. And we also see that, even then, the mutagen that Shredder infuses himself with isn't stable. So, Shredder is kind of losing control. The mutagen's leaving him, and he's going to possibly die if he doesn't get that fixed. But he doesn't care. That's just how consumed by revenge that he is.
So, and it's also interesting that he no longer like this is literally
You cut out a bit there. What now? That he's no longer
that he no longer cares for Karai.
Yes,
like
too. Like he does care for Karai a little bit here. Like Karai is able to get through to him somewhat, because she does get a hit off of him because of that. But he does later on end up becoming completely uncaring for Karai as well. Like he completely devoids himself of all emotion right later on, with the help and use of the mutagen. But in here, like, because the mutagen is unstable, he does still try and care for Karai. He does still want Karai back, but it just doesn't. He's not. Again, like, the revenge has consumed him to the point of, like, he's not above using Karai to try and destroy Splinter.
But this is where the season really picks up, because this is a great episode.
So this is technically a two-parter with episode 20 and episode 21. Like, we do get a two-parter in this season, and I think this is where that two-parter comes in, because episode 21 does carry on from episode 20 fairly well. So do you want to jump straight into that?
Yeah, we can, because they do kind of complement each other. They're both like take place right after the other. So episode 21.
At the end of episode 20, I'll say this: like, we see Splinter and Shredder fall into the dark pit that Splinter sent Rat King down originally, and that's the end of the episode. They think, the Turtles and Karai and the rest of them think that Splinter might be dead and that Shredder might be dead, because Splinter sacrifices himself to take Shredder with him. And that's the end of the episode. So moving into episode 21, Darkest Plight.
Yes.
It seems that Splinter and Shredder are both not dead. Shredder makes it out alive and climbs back up to the top. And he leaves with Tiger Claw to try and get more mutagen to help himself.
I do like that again. Tiger Claw kind of shows resentment. Like, even though Shredder is his master, he's like, don't you think it's enough? And like,
he says, like, you've gone too far. You shouldn't have done this to yourself. Like, I like this. Like, you can see that Tiger Claw does have this weird sort of caring to him, this weird sort of honor to him. Like, you've gone too far. This is too much. It's a shame that they kind of never do anything with it. Like, it makes it feel like they want to have this redemption thing for Tiger Claw, especially with a later episode. But they never do.
I won't necessarily say it's a redemption episode. It's a redemption thing. It's just, Shredder is his boss. He obviously, Shredder didn't hire him for nothing. They have some sort of connection, and also Tiger Claw just maybe doesn't agree. That can also happen.
That's fair enough. That's completely fair. But it does, based on a later episode that we get this season, it feels like they want to do more with Tiger Claw, and they just kind of don't. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But based on this episode, like, back to this episode, though, we return with the Rat King in this episode.
Which, the reason I told you he's not back is because this isn't really him. It's an illusion.
He's not back. This is Splinter seeing it all, because he's, like, poor Splinter in this episode, right? Like, his leg's broken, he's suffering, like, he's in a lot of pain, and he's, delirious due to fever and stuff. Like, Splinter has it rough this episode. Like, poor him, man. Like, he takes a huge beating, and he goes through a lot this episode, especially with Rat King. Like, even though it's all in his mind, like, it's painful. It's kind of painful to watch.
Your mind might be your strongest weakness sometimes, and
or
when your mind plays. So,
like, I liked how they did this with Rat King, like, showing that, Splinter falling prey to, like, the rat inside of him, right? Like, falling prey to that and losing his humanity again, and that being Splinter's greatest fear, right? Of losing his humanity. Like, I liked how they did this, and, like, him falling into the, pit down here, and kind of losing his mind, and eventually, like, regaining his mind and regaining, like, he is human. He remembers that he's human. He remembers everything that he loves about his human life and all of that. And that, when he does come out of it, he sees that, like, oh, the Rat King's skeleton is laying there because the Rat King did die. I like that. That was really well done.
Yep. Again, keeping the streak. Great, another great episode.
Like that was extremely well done. Like this is quite a few episodes in a row that are really well done that I really liked and enjoyed. And at the end of it, we have Splinter being rescued by the turtles, and that's it. Like we go
Yep.
out, like
And
Super Shredder's going for a bit. Everyone's kind of
yeah,
off to lick their wounds, I guess
but
you would say.
yeah, it's like the battle is over. Both sides kind of lost in a sense. But we get, and this is the sides are taking it slow for a bit. The war will continue later.
Yeah. So episode 22.
The power inside her, or AKA, this is probably what the Dark Phoenix movie should have been, but that's
I like
don't
this
know.
episode. I've not seen the Dark Phoenix movie, so I can't say anything on that.
I haven't seen it either, but considering everyone like this is not a worthy finish to the X film franchise.
I don't think anyone would say this is what the Dark Phoenix movie should have been, but I like this episode. This was well done.
I said it as a joke because I think this is because this is what happens here is basically based on the Dark Phoenix comic book. So
okay. I guess I could see that. Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. Fair enough. All right, not a bad joke. I take it back.
Okay. So also, this is episode 100 of the entire show. And there was hype.
Oh boy, there's actually 100 episodes. Jesus. Did not realize we've been through 100 episodes already. Oof.
Yeah, back when it aired, this was like a big thing.
I guess yeah, that makes sense. So, but this is the episode where we finally find out what's up with April and the crystal, because April is entirely losing it. She's become way too attached to the crystal, and apparently there was an Aeon inside of the crystal. And the Aeon, apparently, I'm going to assume the Aeons didn't do this on purpose, that they didn't give the crystal to April so this other Aeon could take her over.
No, this is not.
I'm going
to
assume that this is kind of like, hey, people are being evil on Earth, and we're polluting the Earth, and we need to take better care of the Earth. This is kind of one of those episodes, because this Aeon comes to Earth and ends up becoming corrupted because of her traveling to Earth, right? That's what I'm going to assume.
Yeah, like...
because we can kind of see
this
that
is not,
the Aeon
this wasn't...
comes out. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, like, to support what you said, this isn't necessarily specifically. It was just for whoever will pick this up. Maybe not.
The messaging here is very heavy-handed, though. Like, the Aeon specifically says, like, this world is evil, it's filled with pollution, they're destroying this world, we can destroy all of these people and save this world and purify it. Like, they're being pretty heavy-handed with the messaging, though.
I kind of had a theory that since, April is kind of half crank, if you will, that it was actually meant to, kind of, assist the Krang in a sense. Like, this is, this probably holds no water to some people, but I just had an idea. I don't think it was meant to be for April specifically.
I guess I could see that. I personally would disagree, but I can see where you're coming from, I suppose.
So, but with that said, April is kind of our villain. So then, actually, remember when I told the IDW comics, Donatello dies at one point?
Yeah, Donnie dies here too.
So he's not necessarily dead, but I think this was supposed to be a reference to that idea.
Yeah. I mean, it works, though. Like, I think it's done really well here. Like, you can see how much it affects April when she realizes what she did. You can see, like, April's really struggling here, and you can see how everyone's trying to get through to her to try and, hey, you have to fight this. You're the only one that can. Like, it works really well here. And I think it's, it says something how you can see Casey's able to get through to April the most, but also it's, the reminder of Donnie that also helps April get through as well. Like, I like this. This episode is done really well. Like, you can see the people closest to April are able to get through to her the easiest, right? But you can also see like she cares about all of them really well, a lot. She cares about all of them a lot, and this is a fun episode. I like this episode. Like this is done really well. Like we see the ending to the crystal, the corrupted Aeon comes out of the crystal. We kind of learn a bit about it and how it came to be inside the crystal. And we kind of figure out like, hey, it's the earth and the people here and just the corruption and the pollution and stuff like that, right? That ended up corrupting the Aeon, and that's why the Aeon became corrupted again. It's good. It's enjoyable.
Yep.
Like it doesn't really do much for the story. It just kind of finishes up for like this whole plot line with Super Shredder. It just finishes up the plot line with April and what's going on with her and the crystal, which is really well done, I think.
And it also gives you kind of the idea that as they're preparing for the next battle with the Shredder, nothing is really, nothing is just peace and quiet. They still have stuff to worry about. It's not
and we also, do see like, hey, April's lost a lot of her power now because she loses the crystal, but the crystal did help her retain some of her power and strengthen it, right? Like,
like after this, she can still use some of this
like
stuff.
She's
but
learned and grown a lot because of the crystal. Like it's helped her grow and learn a lot about her powers. But she's not as powerful as she used to be.
The crystal was basically, the training wheels when you're learning to ride a bike.
I mean, I don't know about that because training wheels are you generally, after you take the training wheels off, you're supposedly stronger because you can ride without them. But April's weaker because she loses the training wheel.
You know what I mean?
Because the crystal gave her even more power.
Yeah, true. Okay, not the most accurate. Not the most accurate analogy, but
I completely ruined your analogy there. I know what you're going for, though. I get where you're coming from. But I did ruin your analogy there.
and you cut out. I'm not gonna what you said. Moving on to the next episode. Toka versus the World.
Toka's back.
Toka's back. And
I like this. We see where, hey, this is what's happened to Bishop and the Utrom. We see a little bit of the Utrom are apparently working with the Earth Protection Force, and we see a bit of, like, this is world building, I feel. And this is really good world building because the Earth Protection Force is trying to figure out, like, hey, we need to be able to protect ourselves from alien threats like the Triceratons and the Krang. And so this is how we do it. And the Utrom and Bishop are helping the Earth Protection Force do that. And so,
actually, fun fact about all of these episodes, I think it's also true for the previous one. All of them aired on the South Korean Nickelodeon before airing in the US. Just a fun fact.
Weird, I guess. Neat little thing, though.
Anyway, back to Toka versus the World.
Yeah. So Toka's back. She's coming to Earth to try and find Chompy, her baby, that Raph still has with him. And, like I said, I like the whole Splinter warns the turtles. I'm going to keep making that mistake, by the way. Splinter warns the turtles of, like, hey, be careful when dealing with the Earth Protection Force. You're dealing with humans that are organized and not semi-idiotic like the Krang. Like, oof, that burn against the Krang. Like, wow, Splinter.
Yeah.
Like,
well, honestly, would you blame anyone for making that?
I don't know. I feel like the Krang were able to take over Earth, so I feel like the Krang are way better than the Earth Protection Force at the moment,
Well, fair point, but still... Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
You can't say these humans are better. They lost to the Krang.
Well, honestly, though, I think idiots when it comes to,
I get it.
Compared to the Utroms.
I get it.
And, Toka or something, that's what he meant. Not necessarily the Earth Protection Force, because, yeah.
I mean, again, though, this is kind of a side episode, but hey, Toka's back. We have to give Chompy back to Toka, Chompy back to its mom. I like Bishop in this. I've always liked Bishop. Bishop's always been a badass. I think it's, Bishop's always fun.
Bishop is great.
So more Bishop is a good thing. We see Bishop try and, help the turtles when he realizes that, because he tells the, Earth Protection Force, like, hey, tell the leaders of the world, do not attack Toka. You will pay for it dearly. Like, you cannot defeat Toka. There is nothing you can do to Toka. Do not attack Toka. They don't listen to Bishop at all. They do attack Toka. So, good job. Yeah. And it's the U.S. military that strikes first, as usual.
Yeah, the Well, if there's something I learned from talking to you for over 3 years, is that Americans are idiots. So,
Fair. It's true. It's
I'm
completely
not.
true. I'm not going to argue.
I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm based on what you are telling me.
No, it's
This
completely
is
fair. We are. It's completely fair. We are absolutely idiots.
You want to know something though? We are worse. We
Everyone's
are way worse.
everyone's bad. Everyone thinks their country is terrible, so it's completely fair. Like it's not a
Fair
new
enough.
thing. But
Yeah, well,
like
fair
I
enough.
still found it funny. Like, hey, it's America. It's good old the U.S. of A. that attacks first with its jets because it thinks it can do something against a giant monster. Yeah.
America, fuck no.
Fair.
Anyway, but going to the end for a second. I do like that. In the end, the solution is not to give Champy away. The solution is actually that Toka allows Champy to stay with Raph because she
I like
knows
that. It's fun.
because
Like,
because she knows Raph will take care of them.
Yeah, like, Raph's taking good care of Chompy. Chompy misses Raph. Like, you see Toka give Chompy back because Chompy's crying. Like, hey, you take care of Chompy. You've done well. So I'm not going to destroy the world. Like, you've done well. You've shown me you've done well. And I like how, you can tell that Toka does understand Raph. Like, Raph took Chompy because they thought Toka was dead, right? They didn't want Chompy to be orphaned, so they took care of Toby, and they took
Chompy.
care of Chompy and took him in and, watched over him and kept him safe and everything. I like that. That was good. That was enjoyable. Like, this is another good episode, I think. This is it doesn't really do much for the whole Super Shredder story, yeah, but it's still a really well done episode that I like how it goes
and it does kind of close up.
Yeah, it closes up the story with Toka and Chompy and what happens with Chompy and, everything with Toka. Like, it does close that up and finally finishes that little side story. So it's well done. I like this. And it kind of finishes up, and it gives us a bit of world building too, with the Earth Protection Force and all of that. Like, I like this.
Yeah. So now we're moving on to Tale of Tiger Claw.
So this one finishes up an old storyline way back in when Tiger Claw was first introduced, about how he says there's someone out there who cut off his tail and that, he has an enemy out there who's still after him. We're finally getting a conclusion to that.
Yeah,
I didn't really need that, but I'm glad I got it because we're introduced to a new character, Alupex.
Alupex, who is voiced by, hold on, I need to load it up, by Minei Noji, who you may know from the previous season because she voiced Tang Shen and, played Karai in the 2014 Inter. So, she's back to play.
The best TMNT movie.
No. Honestly, you can play a drinking game with every time I said this movie in any of these episodes. So, I hope you're not dead if you're playing.
You wouldn't get super drunk, but you would get a little tipsy at least.
You would think you have 2 penises, 3 eyes, and maybe 4 tongues by the time we're done. Anyway.
Anyway, like
so Alopex is cool.
I wish we could have done more with her. I wish this could have been introduced sooner. I wish this whole thing with Tiger Claw could have went somewhere more. To be honest, it feels like it's kind of. It feels like it comes out of nowhere with this final. With season 4 getting close to the finale, we just wanted to do a thing. So here's this. It does kind of feel out of nowhere, and again, like I said, it feels like based on this episode that we wanted to do more with Tiger Claw's character, we just didn't. And so it's kind of a letdown in that regard, because Alopex is apparently Tiger Claw's sister, and apparently she's angry and she's angry and upset with Tiger Claw, and she wants revenge against Tiger Claw because he led her down a path of becoming an assassin and had her do some terrible things that she now regrets and wishes she had never done. And so she blames Tiger Claw for all of this, and she wants revenge against him.
And may I say, if I may jump, the moment where she cut his hand off, I was like, oh!
She cut his arm off. Yeah, that was unexpected.
Like Nickelodeon. Next up, who lives in a pineapple under the sea, and then you see this. It's But okay, but yeah, I like a lot. like our story. I like the only thing, like you said, is that it feels like it's coming a bit too late.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was built up more or something, or maybe if Tiger Claw did mention something of it.
I don't know. It's supposed to feel like this is supposed to be Tiger Claw learning a lesson of he should change his ways, but he doesn't change his ways because, like, even then, like his sister, she beats him. She says, "I'll let you live this time, but no, I could have killed you." And like Tiger Claw's like, "All right," so he still tries to shoot his sister in the back because he's evil, and she comes up and cuts his arm off and says, "All right, this is your punishment now. You've not learned. Next time, turn away from your evil ways, or next time I will kill you." And that's kind of it. And it's just, again, it feels like, maybe Tiger Claw should have learned a lesson here. Maybe you wanted him to, but or maybe you wanted him to like, hey, he's never going to learn his lesson. He is evil, end of. I don't know. I don't feel like, I feel like there should have been more here. I don't feel like it entirely works as well as they intend for it to or wanted it to, maybe. It's not bad by any means. I do like it. I like Alopex's character. I wish we could have seen more of her. I wish we could have done more with this. But for what it is, it's still good. I do think the focus on the whole, like, Casey's cursed and he needs to destroy these cursed blades that Alopex cut him with, or otherwise, he might end up getting killed.
That was unnecessary.
It feels like a bit of a side plot just to kind of fill out the episode, and I feel like we could have focused more on Alopex and Tiger Claw, I think, and this been okay. Yeah, we didn't really have to have the thing with Casey, but it's not terrible by any means.
So, it's all right. With that said, we're moving on to our season finale, which, it might play out as 2 different episodes, but they are 2-parters all the same.
Requiem, yeah, they're connected. A little bit less connected than what our season finale 2-parters normally are, but still, they're connected, and it's fairly well done. Like, this is a good startup.
So with that said, we have Requiem and Owari. And boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, if this is a season finale, if I saw one.
So Splinter finally, unequivocally, dies.
Yeah, that's actually something I want to bring up, because people have pointed out that it might have been pointless to save him if we were going to kill him anyway. But I actually like this in order to show the Turtles that it does work, because it does show that Splinter's death is inevitable. The Turtles will need to let him go. The Turtles will have to accept the fact.
They do need to move forward and grow and learn without him, right? Again, I stand by the fact that they've brought so many characters back from death, it hurts them in the long run, because this death, it's expected. I know it's going to happen because I know of the Turtles, at least in this much, I know Splinter has to die, or is more than likely going to die. But it does feel like this death doesn't hit as hard as it could or should have, because they've brought so many characters back before. They've brought Splinter back so many times before.
I personally, this is going more towards the second part of this, that I think this one personally hits more than, because
I think it does work, but I just, for me personally, I don't think it hits as hard as it maybe could or should have.
Like, maybe if the previous that didn't occur and, wasn't a thing, maybe it could have been stronger. But
I think, like, looking at the whole Splinter fell down the pit and he had the whole interaction with the Rat King and everything, I think it works with that. I think it's kind of ruined by the whole we saw Splinter die in this 3rd season ending, right? It's kind of ruined by that a little bit, I feel, because it feels like, okay, you had that whole thing of the timeline changing just to have this season ending. I think feel a bit meh in that regard. Like, we got no explanation of how the time of how Splinter apparently knew to block Shredder that time. It kind of seems like that's the only reason why you did that, to have this season finale. So it feels a bit meh in that regard. But other than that, like, I do think it works. I do think it does well here. Like I say, I don't, because we, show so many different characters not actually dying, like they're not dead, they're still around, they're still alive, they're still doing their thing, quote unquote, like the Fugitoid as a great example. Again, I say that because of that, death has less permanence. It has less meaning. It's not as impactful as it could or should be, in my opinion. But other than that, again, I stand by it. This does work. I will stand by that.
It does work, and I think, when you actually see them bury Splinter, that's your cue that.
Which, by the by, Pigeon Pete is there at Splinter's funeral. He's on the farmhouse because we go back to the O'Neill farmhouse to bury Splinter. You can literally see Pigeon Pete there. So the fuck, Pigeon Pete? You mean we don't talk about him? The fuck? He's there. I can see him. So the fuck.
They have their reasons. Anyway,
they have
but
no reason. They just wanted to do something stupid and silly, which I get. It is silly, but the fuck.
Okay, going back from Splinter's death for a second, like the way this happens, like the fact that it happens on top of a roof in New York, and then the shredder falls, and Casey, activates the crusher on him.
The trash truck to crush Shredder, yeah.
Yeah, this is a reference to the first 90s movie where the Shredder falls from the building. Splinter throws him off in this movie. And, then Casey walks it and crushes him. So it's a reference to that, but the thing is that he was a regular Shredder and here is the super Shredder, so it makes more sense that he survived.
Casey. Like, it does kind of show that Casey's not, like, the best of people. Like, they've always been kind of showing that Casey's not the best of people, but I do like that moment because it does show that slightly darker side to Casey. And it's not just him being a bully towards Donnie or anything like that. It's like him actually being a darker, like, hey, this is what you need to do to get rid of some people sometimes.
It is, which is different because in the movie in both movie and the show he says, oops. So in the movie, he does go like a bit more cynical. Oops, silly me. In this, he says it more in spite, like he's angry. I like that change.
Yeah, that's
great
good.
change.
That was really well acted by the VA. Like, I liked how he acted that oops. Like, it's spoken in a way where, you can say, like, you can tell that he's angry and he's just doing this to hopefully get rid of him for good. Like, you deserve this. Like, this isn't an accident. I'm doing this on purpose. Like, I like that. It's good. It's well acted by the VA here. Well done.
Yeah. Way to go, Josh.
But Shredder isn't dead.
Shredder isn't dead, and and then we see the Turtles gearing up for the big fight with the Shredder. Which, by the way, Michelangelo, I did see Megan Fox on that roof. By the way, there's actually, I'm not sure in what episode this is, that, we see them in an elevator going up, and Michelangelo starts knocking on his nunchucks, Raph punches him. That's also...
That was
so
funny.
this is a reference to a scene near the end of the movie where the Turtles are taking the elevator to go fight Shredder, and it's the Michael Bay movie.
No, but that's the scene you're talking about is back in the Toka episode when they're going to the TCRI building. That was funny. I enjoyed that.
So in the movie, like, Mikey starts making this beat, and all of the Turtles are joining in and have this little beat going on, and then when they reach their floors, they're like all game faces again, which is probably the only good thing about this movie. Like, and even then, it comes out of nowhere and has nothing to do with the tone. So you know what? Even the best part is bad. So fuck the movie.
You also said Minenoji was good as Karai as well. So there's two good things about the movie now.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point.
I'm making you like the movie ever so slightly.
You will never make me love this piece of shit. Never.
Maybe one day.
No.
I'll get you to accidentally say the movie was good.
Back to the actual good Ninja Turtles show that we're talking about. So the final fight with the Shredder.
So.
Oh shit.
This was a good fight. But the way they ended it, it felt lackluster. Like, we have all the different turtles fighting. We kind of have each person going down one at a time to where we're finally left with it's Leo versus Shredder. And we have Leo going back and forth, and Leo almost loses. But then you see Splinter come in and say, hey, don't be afraid. You can do this. And Leo comes back, and then we cut to black, and we see Leo walking out. We see the house is completely on fire. And Leo walks out onto the cliff, and he's wearing the Shredder's, not his head, his helmet.
his helmet.
And we see him holding the Shredder's helmet, and the Shredder's gone. We've beaten him now. Like, that feels lackluster.
The ending could have been, the final blow could have been better, but the fight itself is great.
We end the season where everyone's kind of sitting on a rooftop saying, like, hey, well, we've got to move on without Splinter. We'll have many different adventures still. It kind of feels like we need a 5th season. This is how we're going to do it so we can have a 5th season. It feels very season baity, sequel baity, in a way.
I get you.
It doesn't feel like, it's like we don't, this is a definitive end, but we don't want to have a definitive end because we want to have a 5th season. It just, I don't know, it feels like this, like this season should have been the definitive, like, this is the end of, like, season 4 is the end of the TMNT 2012 version. Like, this is where it should have ended, but we don't quite end it there because we still want a 5th season, so we're going to have things going past. I don't know. It feels like they still could have had their definitive ending here and still had a 5th season, because from what I've seen, from what I understand, it seems like season 5 is just going to be like, hey, these are like the stories of the Turtles as they go forward without Splinter. Like, these are just side stories.
Kinda not really. You will see when you get to see.
Fair enough.
But
I don't know.
Overall,
it feels like this season finale wasn't as good as previous season finales were, in my opinion.
Okay, that's fair. I think what we together is the fact that this is the Turtles finally beating the Shredder,
which is
this is something.
In that regard, it is good. It does work. It just feels like, I don't know. It feels like we should have seen a more definitive end to Shredder than Leo walking out on a cliff and dropping his helmet and saying Shredder's gone. Just, I don't know. It feels like we should have had a more definitive end to him.
Again, I think it's all I have no with him walking out with the helmet. I have the final blow was clumsy. That I would redo.
It didn't feel very well done, in my opinion. And this kind of comes back to how I feel and why I say, like, a majority of the season just feels kind of disappointing. Like, there could have been stuff that was done. We could have done more with some things. We could have left some things out so we could do more with it. And we could have built stuff up better. And even then, like, we could have had better payoffs to some things. Like, this season finale has a lot of really good build-up with, finally ending Shredder. But we get to the ending, and it's just kind of, all right, we're done. Moving on. We have new adventures to partake in now that Splinter's gone. New things to do. New things to do.
I'm curious about what you think about the next season. And we will see when we get there.
You might end up not liking with season 5. I might come to season 5 and end up saying, like, I think it should have ended at season 4. But maybe season 5 will impress me. Maybe season 5 will surprise me with.
This is something
Oh, go ahead.
I would say this. I plan to tell you this off mic. But fans of the show, they listen to this because they've seen the spoilers or whatever. Season 5 is very different in format.
Okay, that's interesting.
And what I say by this is that it's kind of split into several arcs. There are.
So it's not an episode of the week. So it's not kind of that following that episode of the week style thing anymore.
No, it's like you'll have four. It'll have like 4 episodes telling one story, which kind of closes up the ties on this part of the show, and then there will be like 2 episodes which closes the story of this type of show.
I like that though. I potentially might like that a lot more. Like, that's the kind of storytelling that I tend to get into more, so I might like that a lot more. We'll see. Okay. I will say season 4 the ending of season 4 doesn't really give me a lot of hope going into it, right? Because, like I said, it does feel kind of lackluster. It does feel kind of disappointing. It does feel like we had a lot of really good build-up that was just then kind of thrown to the wayside and kind of meandered a bit at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm not... Season 4, I go into season 5 based off the end of a season 4 kind of going, I'm not extremely hopeful for it, to be quite honest.
Okay.
But it might surprise me.
We'll see. Well, with that said, that's all for this episode. Hope you enjoyed. What do you think about season 4 of the show? You can tell us all about that in the comment section below. on our Tumblr, which is known as Berkcast Team, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and you can find all of us. Actually, that doesn't matter for this podcast. So with that said, I was HC.
I've been Wolf.
And we'll talk to you all next time when we finish the show. Take care.
Finally. Until then, bye-bye.